All you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 59, New Faces and New Places of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. It is so good to be back. I know I've been gone for a few weeks. I was sick, and then last week we were going to meet our new pediatrician, and it just happened that it was right at the same time as we were taping, and it's always something inevitably, but I'm glad to be back. You know, Still got a little cough, but recovering nicely and getting ready for baby to arrive in mid March.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So I told y'all she'd be back, and she's back. Morgan is here. And yeah, I'm well as well. I'm you probably hear it in my voice. I was telling Morgan I was in her area over the weekend at a retreat, which is why a lot of y'all did not get those Sixers articles and Eagles articles that you were looking
Yes.
for over the weekend because Colin was at a retreat, so there was no articles being made about the 76ers and the Eagles this past weekend because of that. Kylan took his retreat seriously. Usually I write at least one during this retreat, but this weekend I decided to take it. This past weekend I decided to take it seriously. But trust and believe, I was watching it. Everything is good. I'm fighting off something too, as more a little cough. So if I'm a little bit slow on the uptick, that's why. But yeah, we're good. We're good over here. Um, you know, Morgan is 9 weeks away from her new addition. So yeah, send your prayers and positive thoughts her, Dan, and the dog's way, new additions and all that. Yeah, and if there's nothing else, you good. You good otherwise. So Happy New Year. We're getting to the point. We're 23 days into it. We don't need to say it, but Happy New Year.
We're getting to the point where we almost have to say happy Super Bowl. So
Yeah. Yeah.
football season is slowly ending for me. So I'm getting less and less busy, which is good. But let's get started. There's a lot going on, a lot to talk about. So let's do it.
You for plugs the follows. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh. Oh yeah. Did you do? Okay, cool. Don't forget the plugs.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't even see this. See, again, baby pregnancy brain. Haven't done this in a few weeks. Make sure to give us a follow on X/Twitter. I am Morgan, oh my God, M_India_ Miller. Kylan is at Kylan W. Watson. Clarence, is Clarence joining us today, or is that from last week?
No, I just forgot to take him off from last
Yeah,
week,
so
but
go
it's all
follow
good.
Clarence. So he's been great when I'm not around and helping. So that would be awesome.
Yeah. He's not. I did not do that to throw you off. No, I just
I
forgot
was
to
like,
take him off.
oh,
um, yeah, we also want to send our thoughts and prayers again to all of you dealing with the fires. We know that they're largely been contained, but we know that some of them have gotten over to Sacramento. So definitely the Sacramento area. So it's moving over to the NoCal area now. So we're definitely still sending our thoughts and prayers and thoughts y'all way as well. And also, it's not on here because it just recently happened, like I think a day or two before we were planning this show. But we do want to send our prayers and thoughts to the victims of the latest school shooting in this country. Happens all too often in Tennessee. I think it's Antioch High School. So yeah, so we do want to send our prayers and thoughts there as well. No big cultural thing here. I think it's unfortunate what happened. It's very unfortunate that that we have people inspired by some of the negative elements of social media and everything else going on here. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
yeah,
And we're
a
gonna
lot
get to these.
right now, and the last thing that we need is more violence. So prayers that violence can end and go away, and that we can, you know,
Yeah,
everything
facts.
better.
Yep. And so yeah, last week we started off with the Cowboys, and again, it's like Jerry Jones is like somewhere sitting and laughing, saying, "I'm gonna make Holland and Morgan talk about me." So here we
Always.
are. Excuse me.
Both got a little cough, so you might be hearing it a lot of us.
Yeah. So according to Pro Football Talk, and for those of you that don't know, Mike Florio, the Dallas Cowboys are closing in on making Brian Schottenheimer their new head coach. And our reaction to this, Morgan, I feel like this came out of left field. I know we were talking about a little bit off air, so I'm gonna let you start here.
I don't really know much about him. Like I mean, I just don't. I really thought that it was going to be Dion. Even with everything that was happening, I thought that they felt like they needed kind of a big punch. And I just I was surprised. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I literally was on this show talking about last week. If for those of you that have watched it when Trey was on here, I said that Prime is Dion was the perfect coach because it's just flashy enough to keep the Cowboys relevant and has that postseason success to get you where you want to be, right? And for some reason, he's honed in on Schottenheimer. Maybe Dion didn't want to leave Colorado. It's good for Eagles fans that didn't want to see Kellen Moore leave and actually wanted an offensive coordinator to stay in Philadelphia. So we'll see if they close the deal on this or not. But yeah, it's kind of out left field. I know he was. I think he's their current OC now, right? So I guess it's just somebody who he was familiar enough with. Maybe this was his son stepping in and making sure he didn't make a dumb move. We've seen this before that Jerry Jones' son will step in and make sure that his father doesn't make the dumb moves. So maybe this is what this is. But yeah, I'm surprised.
We were joking at work today. We were talking about who it was going to be, and some kid from across the room was like, "It's Jerry Jones' time. He's going to be the coach. He's going to finally coach it himself." So, it's an interesting time, and I hope you're right. And I think there are a lot of Cowboys fans out there that hope that you are right. In that someone steps in and tells him, hey, like, we have an opportunity to do something here. There are coaches available. And I think the thing that is so scary, I guess, from if you're a Cowboys fan, is the Cowboys don't like to fire coaches. So they're not like any other team where if they make a mistake and they hire somebody that isn't necessarily the right person, they might, if it's still Jerry, he's not going to fire them. So I think that that's the worry that people have, is that, it's harder as a Cowboys, like a Giants guy, you're 2 years and you're done. Jets, 2 years, you're done. They don't have the patience that Jerry Jones has. I guess patience is one thing, whatever you want to call it.
The joke, as you just put it, is that, Jerry Jones, I was hearing a lot at the retreat, like, who's going to be the new, with Dallas, it's always about, like, how much are you willing to take? Because, like, you can't have somebody there who's like, and I'm not questioning anybody's manhood, but Morgan and I both know from the reporting and the different work that we have done, that that it's a little bit of truth here that Jerry Jones wants a coach who can coach, but also somebody who's not going to be too strong-willed that they won't take his input, right? He always wants that person that's just going to tell him, yes, boss, you can do whatever you want. Who am I to tell you no, right? We know that's why it didn't work with Bill Parcells and it didn't work with Jimmy Johnson, right? This is why both of them, well, Bill Parcells is retired, but this is why Jimmy Johnson is on Fox doing all that great work in football, and why he just got into the Ring of Honor last year, right? Because he was too strong-willed for Jerry, and Jerry just couldn't admit that he couldn't do it without him, right? So, that's what it is. So, to move on to our next part of this question, is this the right move for the Cowboys? I think both of us are kind of surprised. I mean, I guess based on the fact that he's their current OC, it's a good move for the organization and the players. It might not be that flash in the pan move if you're a fan of another team, like you're an Eagles, a Giants, or a Commanders fan. You're probably like, no, we want more mediocre coaches in the NFC East. So I don't know enough. We know about his father, right? We know about his father, but we don't really know enough about Brian to really determine anything about him. I guess he's okay. The Cowboys' offense wasn't the problem. It was the fact that they couldn't keep their quarterback upright. Um, and that's more of a GM problem than a coaching problem. So.
We are just dying over here. We're not doing well.
We are. But I'm of the mindset, excuse me, y'all. I told y'all I'm on the last leg of fighting something off like Morgan. I'm of the mindset that somebody strapped Jerry Jones to a chair and made him make this move. Like I feel like this is the move you make when everybody either tells you no, or when you put Jerry Jones in a straitjacket and put him somewhere, and then the real adults get in the room and make a decision, because I just can't see it. I don't understand where this guy came from. Like, I don't know how you can interview that well, because it usually doesn't work out like this for internal candidates. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with it.
And it was
I guess it's the right move.
I think that's the other thing, that it was really fast, and I mean, maybe they knew. Maybe they knew. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of, is that they were so sure for whatever reason for so long, and they just wanted to get it done. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know if this is the right move for the Cowboys. I don't know if anybody. I mean, was he really on anybody's radar?
Probably not, but I also think that and we'll get to the Mike McCarthy into this. We talked about this last week. It's not on the rundown, but it's just something that we're going to get into. I think, because I heard this conspiracy theory earlier on one of the sports shows, I don't think they ever expected Mike McCarthy to not come back. I think this makes me think with this move that Mike McCarthy told them no instead of what I thought it was last week, which is that they got tired of Mike McCarthy. I think he said, I'm not going to be a lame duck yes man coach. And so Jerry Jones would have got him another yes man coach. So that's what I think. But we'll see if this is the right move for a Cowboys team that is basically no offense to the Cowboys fans that watch this. So I say this with all due respect, but talent wise on the decline. So that's where I'm at with it, as far as obviously Dak Prescott is getting older. CeeDee Lamb, just his mega deal. My boy will be getting his mega deal soon. So yeah, y'all about to be doing this as far as talent wise, but I think most Cowboys fans know that. But moving right along to the NFC North news, Ben Johnson becomes the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Morgan, your reaction to this?
I did not think they were going to get him. I think this is an all-star hire for him. And I think because, again, it happened so fast after the Lions loss, I think that Ben Johnson sees something in Caleb Williams that he is really excited about. I think Ben Johnson loves the legacy of the Bears. I think obviously he's coming from Detroit. I think he loves that Midwest feeling. I think, it is an advantage getting to play against the Lions twice a year. Some people might say, God, would you really want that? Well, he knows how that organization works. He knows how Dan Campbell thinks. He knows how Jared Goff plays. It's an advantage for him. He knows how to beat that team. I think this is an all-star move for them. I think that they I think it's a great move. I think that, everything, of course, does not come down to coaching. That's not how it goes. But this is going to be such an improvement from last year. And I heard a few people talking about this, that they think that last year they were very close to getting Ben Johnson to the Bears. And when he decided that he wanted to stay in Detroit, one of the main reasons that they didn't fire Eberflus was that they wanted Ben Johnson and they knew they wanted him. And so they said, fine, we'll deal with it for one more year, and then we'll get Ben Johnson on the tail end of that after next year, when he can't turn down a head coaching, the money that comes from a head coaching job twice. I'm really happy for him. I think this is going to be a great fit for him. And I think, so much of this has to be that he truly believes in Caleb Williams, which I think has got to be great to see if you're a Bears fan, because, by the end of last season, you didn't really know what was going on with Caleb, or I guess the end of this season. And I think that having somebody that's going to come in and kind of be able to just turn the whole offense around is really exciting.
Yeah, all facts. Thank Morgan for holding that down. I had to go grab a cough. I'm coughing a little bit too much on this joint. Excuse me. But yeah, I am of the mindset that this is a home run hire. I echo everything Morgan said. It's a home run hire. It speaks a lot to the talent that is Caleb Williams. It also makes me think, kind of like echoing what Morgan said, that he was held down by, I think as a rookie quarterback, you could be held down by coaching that just isn't for you, right? But I just don't think Eberflus and them did a great job of maximizing Caleb Williams. Like we saw with the interim coach, he did a great job of maximizing Caleb Williams. Play actions, 2-minute offenses, things that he ran at USC. I just think it's good, especially when you have a quarterback that's going to be there longer than you are as a coach, that you start implementing. Like, this is why I think it would benefit these coaches. I wish I could give you this recoiler through the screen, but technology isn't there yet. It gets to a point where I just think that these coaches should implement what they do in college into their playbooks. And so I think that Ben Johnson is a great hire for the Bears. I think it says a lot. It says a lot of good things about that front office, a lot of good things about where the Chicago Bears are going as a franchise. I think we kind of just answered this question. But yes, this is a franchise-saving move for the Bears, because that franchise, I mean, it's good, it's still respectable, but it was in the toilet after what happened on Thanksgiving, because Morgan and I think I've said this story multiple times, but literally, after I sent Morgan a happy Thanksgiving message a few hours ago, I don't think she expected to hear from me. We were both texting each other back and forth through eating turkeys, or I think she may have been working. Right? Were you working Thanksgiving?
I worked from home for Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah, so like she was working, but we were texting back and forth after this game, and I was like, bro, did you just see this? How do you lose 2 timeouts, right? And that.
So yeah. I was in the hospital on Thanksgiving. That's probably why I was because I had to go get fluids for pregnant.
That's right. My bad. But yeah, so we were texting back and forth, after she got out the hospital. But yeah, we were all talking about how did they lose the timeouts. I think that was if the decision wasn't made already, it was made by then, right? Because the Bears were a laughingstock, because I even think the Detroit Lions expected to lose that game. So, I am of the mindset that, this is a franchise-saving move by the Bears. Good for the Bears. Now get that new stadium, which I guess will be in the suburbs, or maybe it'll still be in Soldier Field. But yeah, this is a great move. Unlike the Cowboys move, we know a little bit more about Ben Johnson. We know he can create and design an offense. So this is great. This is a win-win move for the Bears, a big move for Caleb. I'm good, man.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's gonna be great, and I think that Ben Johnson really truly wants to be there, because Ben Johnson had his pick of any team he wanted. So
yeah. But moving right along to other, the Lions lost the game, and then their whole coaching tree got poached. To the Eagles world, Aaron Glenn got hired to be the new coach of the New York Jets. I'm gonna let Morgan start here, because this is a team that her favorite team shares a stadium with, so she's got a little bit more insight on this than I do. So, Morgan, what you think about this move?
I talked to some Jets fans today at work, and I was, asking them how they felt, how are we doing, what are we thinking here and there. And they were like, we're okay, we're feeling good about this. I've listened to some of his like pump up speeches and stuff that he did in Detroit, and I think he's fiery. Like, I think he's got some energy. I think that's different than what they had last year with Salah. I think he's going to be a complete different different side of the a different flip of the coin, I guess you could say, than Salah with the way that he approaches things. I don't know what this means for Aaron Rodgers' future there. I'm sure that will slowly come to light. But I think it's a good hire for them. I do.
This is more than likely getting the boot because I can't imagine Aaron Glenn wanted to strap himself to that. Yeah, I can't see a new coach being like, oh yes, I want Aaron again. Like, no, I don't think he wants those. He wants that issue. But as far as this, I think this was a home run hire for the Jets. I mean, I think, of the teams that were looking for coaches that I was worried would mess it up, I thought the Jets would mess it up. It seems like they did a good job. They did their due diligence, and they got their guy, right? It seems like that's who they wanted. They wanted Aaron Glenn, and they got him. So now Aaron Glenn just needs to decide who his players are and roll with it, and we'll see if it turns around for the Jets. Now, I don't think it will in the short term, but in the long term, I think it's a great hire, and if he's given time and not a year or 2 years, I think this will work out. I think this is going to be a very, very good hire. I think this has the potential to be like a DeMeco Ryans hire in Houston. Like, I don't know if it'll turn it around instantly, but in like 2 to 3 years, the Jets will look back and be like, we're in a better place than we were in 2024 and the 2024-2025 season. So,
yeah,
I think it was a good move.
I think it's just going to be a complete overhaul of attitude and shift in the
personnel department.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we kind of went on this, but yeah, I think this was a good move for the Jets. This was a good they are now move. Like, sometimes you need a coach that will grow with the franchise, and in this case, that's what the Jets needed. They need a coach that would set the expectation to like Super Bowl. So he does a good job of setting the expectation here. I think this was a Morgan.
Yeah.
Good move by the Jets.
I do too.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, moving right along then. Do you have anything else to add to that, or are you good?
I do not.
No? You good? Okay. Well, we'll get to the part that I know a lot of Detroit fans were depressed about, and a lot of people in the DMV were very, very happy because, like I said, they haven't seen this much success since Robert Griffin III was running around in Landover, Maryland. So the Detroit Lions, unfortunately for them, fell to the Washington Commanders. And what a shootout this was. Even though I picked the Lions, Morgan, my reaction to this was, that my one concern with the Lions, when we always talked about them, I said the Lions' problem is they got you and me in their secondary, and they can't catch a cold. And that's what came and bit them. Like, that secondary was awful. Obviously, Jared Goff turning the ball over 2 or 3 times didn't help. But the fact that their defense couldn't stop Jaden McDaniels and basically gave up the long pass on the middle of the field every time he threw was kind of the difference maker here. And I think that, the Lions had a heck of a year. Like I said, they should have lost that Chicago Bears game. I think they were supposed to be the 2 seed. The Eagles were supposed to be the 1 seed. I'm not saying that as a biased Eagles fan. I'm saying that because they should have lost that Bears game, and then they should have probably lost one more game since then. They definitely lost that Texans game when he threw 5 interceptions. And And so they probably would have been a 2 or a 3 seed. So, but no, the Lions had a great season, certainly undone by the fact that the injury bug just bit them and they couldn't overcome it. So, but good for the Commanders. The Commanders took this one. Jaden Daniels. And, Jaden Daniels, he dropped 45 points on the Lions. What more can you say about him? I definitely think the run ends in Philly, obviously, but I mean he's had a good I'm him playoffs. That he's definitely the future of the league. I'm not ready to say he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's getting close to cheat code level. Morgan?
Yeah, he is something special. And I will tell you, I have a lot of obviously friends and family that are very excited. My mother has started calling him JD. It's her new name for him. So she's very excited. They all think that they can win, and I think you've heard this said by a lot of people that they're playing with house money, which is a good thing. They feel like whatever happens at this point, right? Which I think is a good thing, and it's exciting, I think, to for them. Again, I lived in DC for most of my life and have never seen a team go to the conference, even the conference championship. So this is really exciting for them. I'm happy for them. Of course, I'm rooting for them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I am a DC girl at heart. I am not a Commanders fan. Absolutely not. Would never, ever say that. But I will say that I love the Commanders for what they have been for my family. And, when the Giants are out, there's two teams I root for, the Commanders and Josh Allen. So if I could get both of them into the Super Bowl, it would be an all-time Super Bowl for me. I did not think they were going to win this game. Absolutely not. But after seeing how they played on the road, I don't see why they can't beat the Eagles. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the Eagles are a much better prepared team to beat them. But I think that what they did in Detroit shows that they can't be counted out and they have to be taken seriously.
We'll get to that. I think that Jaden Daniels is him. I think that other than Terry McLaurin, there's nothing else on that team that scares me. I'm not scared of the ghost of Austin Eckler and the ghost of Brian Robinson, or my boy Zach Ertz. So we'll see when we get there. We'll talk more about that. But where do the Lions go now? I think they need to. Obviously, they need to get a new offensive and defensive coordinators. But after that, I just think they need to go the Eagles route, right? What did the Eagles do? They started drafting and getting those depth pieces through the draft. I think you got to, get some more secondary pieces in the draft. Pray that Aiden Hutchinson's leg heals well. And, you just got to get some depth pieces, build through free agency, take some flyers on some people. Because I just think that was their undone. And I think maybe you need to look at, do you really need to place your hopes on Jared Goff? I mean, it's good. Should you look at – go ahead.
I'm going to hop off for a hot second because I told Kylan before I am obviously not doing this from my normal spot. I got locked out of my house today because I am a dummy and forgot my keys. My husband just got home, so I'm going to real quick hop off, run inside, and hop back on so that I can have better internet connection and not be sitting in my car. So I'll be back in probably 5 minutes. So, Kylan, you keep talking, and I will join back in about 5 minutes.
All right, I can do that. So I think that they need to do what the Eagles did, get some free agents in there, draft some pieces. Like I said, y'all, definitely like, comment, and subscribe as well to the channel. We'd love to read your comments and everything else. But yeah, I think the Lions just need to figure that out. Like I said, I think the bigger question that no one's really talking about, this is no knock on him, but Is there a ceiling with this Lions team with Jared Goff as their quarterback? Do they need to get somebody else? Would they be better with Kirk Cousins? Would they be better with Russell Wilson? Do they need another quarterback to help take them to the next level? I think that might need to be seriously looked at. If you're a Lions fan, I think that those questions that you need, because right now you got a good running back tandem, you got a good receiving tandem, you got a great tight end, up and coming tight end. Like everything is there. The Lions have the talent. I just think they're held back by the fact that by injuries, and I think Jared Goff is a great quarterback, but I just think he wasn't good enough. And like I say, he's not playing defense. But I'm of the mindset that that the Lions probably need to get some depth, and then ultimately, either during this offseason or next offseason, they need to think about, is Jared Goff the guy to get them to the promised land, right? And to win them a championship that the Lions are starving for. Like, is this going to be their year? I definitely think the window for the Lions is the next 2 to 4 years to win a title. And if they don't do it in the next 2 to 4 years, Detroit Lions fans are going to look back on this and be like, they've got a Michigan championship. The Pistons are up and coming. It's been a while since we could say that the Pistons were up and coming, right? And the Lions really are the best team in Detroit right now. It used to be the Red Wings and then the Pistons. There's been a rare time where the Lions are like the best thing going in Michigan right now, sports-wise, outside of the Wolverines. So I hope like I tell all my Michigan friends, like, when the Eagles are not playing, I root for the Lions. I have no reason to hate the Lions. So, like I told them, it's go Lions until they face the Eagles. I hope the Lions continue to work through this. But like I said, draft some players, especially in the secondary, get some free agents, get deeper, and just work on getting more depth. And then they have to think around if Jared Goff is the guy. I don't think he is. I think he's a great quarterback to maintain the status quo, but I think they may need to consider going out and getting a Kirk Cousins, going out and getting whichever between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, whichever one the Steelers don't sign. Maybe need to think about Justin Fields. Maybe need to think about Sam Darnold. I'm just saying, maybe you need to think about getting a quarterback who can take you to that next level and at least get you to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. No disrespect to him, but I don't know if he's the guy that's going to help them win one. So that's where I'm at with this. Wow, that was like, I think Morgan went all this is we're at 4 minutes now. But yeah, I think the Lions have all the talent and everything to make that push. So moving right along, are the Commanders the most dangerous team left in the playoffs? I definitely think the Commanders are a dangerous team. I don't think they're the most dangerous team left in the playoffs. I personally think that's the Philadelphia Eagles. But, I think the Commanders are a dangerous team just because they got Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is very much a cheat code. I've said he is becoming like Patrick Mahomes light when it comes to cheat codes. Like he's a player that's like able to raise them up. Now I don't think he's going to beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles are his kryptonite. He's turned the ball over twice and 5 times. Every time he sees the Eagles, he becomes a turnover machine. So,
So do you think he gets nervous?
No, I think he becomes a turnover machine. He turned the ball over 5 times, and the only reason they won that game in Philly or in Washington was because that bad turf claimed Jalen Hurts' head. Like, if it wasn't for that turf, they would have lost that game. So, I'm of the mindset that, that's where I'm at with it. I think the Commanders are a dangerous team, but I think the most dangerous team left in the playoffs is the Philadelphia Eagles. And then right after that, the Buffalo Bills, because I know Morgan was joking when I wasn't here. My internet started acting up that I'm not going to give the Buffalo Bills love. So I'm going to do the thing and say the Buffalo Bills are also dangerous. Will I pick them? Stay tuned. That's what we call a tease in our business.
Woo-woo.
Morgan, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go back to where the Lions go now. I don't know if you had anything to add.
I think that it's time for a rebuild. And that sounds silly because of how far they made it, but you just lost your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and more assistants are going to follow your offensive and defensive coordinator to their respective team. I think it's exactly what you said. I think it's time to go to the draft. I think it's time to start picking up some players that, filling those holes. Aiden Hutchinson being back will be a huge help for them. And then, it is what it is for whatever reason, but you might think to take a look at your training staff. I mean, there was a lot of injuries this year, like a lot, specifically on the defensive side. So, I'm not saying that was anybody's fault at all, but there was an awful lot of it. So, however you might feel about that. But I think those would be the two big things to look at right now.
Yeah, what about, because I said I don't know if Jared Goff is the guy. I don't know. Maybe you need to look at Sam Darnold. Maybe you need to look at Kirky Kirk. Maybe you need to, or some of y'all call him Kirk O'Chains. Morgan gets the joke. Maybe they need to look at Russell, whichever one doesn't get signed by Pittsburgh between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Do you think it's the quarterback, or do you think Jared Goff is the guy to get the Detroit Lions fans?
Jared Goff is still the guy for them. I wish he'd played better. Yes, but I still think that he's the guy. I still think that he is the superior. I don't know if they have a ton of options. Also, if we're going to be
Apparently, your dogs think he's the guy too. Apparently,
Baxter is like running up and down.
He heard Jared Goff. He was like, "Yes, that's my guy."
Crazy, man.
So, are the Commanders the most dangerous team left in the playoffs? I'm gonna let you. I just said no.
I think that so. Mike Florio had a really good quote today that I'm going to steal from him. He said, "When you're the team that beats the team of destiny, you become the team of destiny." And the Lions kind of felt like that, right? They felt like they were America's team. They were finally going to get there. They were finally going to do it. And then the big bad DC, Commanders come in. And I think that you have to be scared of them. I mean, Team of Destinies, story teams, you say it every year with March Madness, with things with Cinderella teams. You have to be scared of them. Storylines are everything. And, I know you're not scared of them, of course, but, they prove that they can play in a pretty dangerous situation. I know. Guys, Baxter. I know that obviously Detroit is nothing like playing in Philadelphia, but it's probably one of the closer ones, being the dome, the loudness of it, and then being able to just run and just do everything all over them, I think is something that should scare Philly fans. I know it won't, because Philly fans are cockier, and no offense, some can be a little bit more arrogant than most other fan bases. So I don't think it's going to scare them, but I do think that if I were a fan, I would be scared of that storyline, because storylines are everything in sports.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. I've got some stats, but I'll save it for the preview in a few segments. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I like this though. We like this energy. We like this. Yeah, that's what we want. We want all that DMV, that underdog. So it's going to make it easier when they get punched in the mouth, and we don't have to hear no more about the DC team again until next year. Yeah. But the Commanders are coming. I'll give them their respect. They're coming. So that's what I'll give them their respect.
And again, like we keep saying, they're playing with house money this year. That's another scary thing. I think it's always scary to play against a team that doesn't have anything to lose. That's always scary, because they are willing to, throw balls to the walls and go crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. I definitely think the Eagles have a coaching advantage, though. I think Dan Quinn's going to coach them out of games, and Jaden will shoot them out of the game too. But we'll see. But the Philadelphia Eagles beat the LA Rams. I know some of y'all that were probably like, why weren't the Eagles up there sooner? Well, I gotta give the Lions their respect. So the Eagles beat the LA Rams in the playoff Snow Bowl. Obviously, it is what I said it would be on this show last week, and so did Trey. We said it would be the Saquon Barkley playoff game, and that's exactly what it was. 2 touchdowns, 205 yards, very close to breaking Eric Dickerson's, I think, playoff rushing record. So he didn't get the regular season rushing record, but it seems like and the Commanders won't be able to stop him either. So he's probably going to drop 250 against the Commanders. So I'm of the mindset that this game was a slugfest. Mike Tirico and them did their best, but the snow and everything kind of tampered expectations. That Snowmageddon came through. It slowed the Rams down. And, for all of the talk about Saquon Barkley, I did not think this would be the Jalen Carter I'm him game, but this was the Jalen Carter I'm him game. And I'm so happy he's getting his shine because Morgan knows I text her all the time. I said, Carter this, Carter that. He gets held every play. She's tired of hearing me always talk about how much he gets held. But she was watching the game, and I'm sure they all pointed out about 20 times he got held in the snow. Even though, like I said, I was on a tree watching this game in transit. It's crazy watching a bunch of Eagles fans on a bus together coming from Maryland, coming back to Philadelphia.
This game was back as back and forth as you want. Snow games are always scary. You never know.
Right. And I mean, like I said, the Eagles, they beat the Rams. It kind of looked a little scary. I mean, these two games, right, have been very reminiscent of the now granted, they were the number 1 seed. So some of y'all probably and I'll get into this later. I'm not going to give my ammunition up too much. But these two past games look very similar to the Atlanta game for when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Both very ugly. A couple of times where the Eagles should have lost, but they won anyway. And those were these past two playoff games. And so the offensive explosion is coming. So I don't know between the Commanders, if you're a Commanders fan, if you're a Bills or a Chiefs fan, I think you should be really worried because the Eagles usually have at least one or two playoff games where their offense shows up, and it hasn't yet. And so between the Commanders, the Bills, and the Chiefs, one of y'all should be really worried because that offense is going to show up eventually. It just hasn't yet. And it will show up. But the Eagles defense did enough to stop the Rams, and that's really all you need to do. Wasn't really worried about this game. I said the Eagles will win. The Rams kind of made it interesting in garbage time. They kind of took advantage of the fact Quinyanamo Bay went out with a shoulder injury. He's fine. He's been practicing. That was my one worry. If Quinyanamo isn't playing, then Terry McLaurin goes off. But since he's down and he's ready to shut Terry McLaurin down again, I'm here to say that I fully expect another 5 interception game from Jayden. So, I'm of the mindset that this was a great game. And the Eagles did what they were supposed to do. And, for lack of a better term, unfortunately for the Rams, I think this is the end for them. I think Cooper Kupp won't be there anymore. I have no reporting on this or sourcing. Maybe Morgan does. But I think Cooper Kupp won't be there anymore. I think this is the end of the Rams receiving duo.
I think that the Rams are going to split up a lot next year. I have a feeling that they got a lot of people to pay, and they're not going to be able to pay everybody.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have anything to add since you were working and watching this game?
No. I mean, snow bowls are always fun. You get the few crazy people who don't like snow games, like boo you, you're so lame. Snow games are so much fun. I just think that it's going to be so. It's the NFC right now is fun. There's I said this a few weeks ago that I thought that there were a lot of teams that could surprise people, and there were a lot of teams that could go back and forth to surprise big teams. And I said that the Commanders were one of them. So, you know, I'm excited for the future of the NFC, and I am excited for you know, to see. I think this game this weekend is going to be amazing. The Eagles versus the Commanders. So I guess no, I didn't have anything new to say on this game. I just am looking forward to the future.
All right, well, we're one more segment away from our teases. I know y'all keep getting tired of this Commanders Eagles tease, but we promise one more segment away from that. But who are the quarterbacks who are under the most pressure heading into championship weekend? So to me, in order, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, then Jalen Hurts. Because I'm of the mindset that I can flip it between Mahomes and Allen, but I just think for me, especially for Mahomes, I think Mahomes is under the most pressure because, you know, they had a couple of weeks off and their offense still didn't look good against a Texans team, and we'll get to them in a minute too. Against a Texans team that honestly really wasn't trying to win that game, you know, and it still didn't look good, you know. He's looked very pedestrian. I said last week that the Chiefs are the living embodiment of that song that all of us used to hear at our college parties, whether you went to a PWI or HBCU, living on a prayer. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs have been doing these last few games. So I'm of the mindset that Patrick Mahomes, because he's got the 3-peat in his hands, Josh Allen, because in a minute they're going to start giving him the smoke that they give Lamar Jackson every time he loses. So if Josh Allen doesn't find a way to win against, you'll never find a Chiefs team more ready to just be like, all right, y'all, we're tired. Like the Chiefs look like they basically said, hey, man, we're ready to give it up. So, you know, and no team has taken them up on that except for the Bills. So I said this a month or two ago. Morgan remembers this because she was rolling her eyes, but I said it. I don't care about regular season wins in Buffalo. What did I say? I want to see what it looks like when it's cold, when that snow is coming down. Hopefully it's not going to snow. We don't know. I want to see what it looks like in Kansas City with it all on the line for Josh Allen, because that's when it's going to matter. And so, Josh Allen, this is your chance. This is your legacy. I want to see if we're going to tear this country down when it's if it's a Bills and Eagles Super Bowl or a Chiefs Eagles rematch. Either way, look, man, no disrespect to the Commanders, but y'all got no chance. You know, Morgan wants to be nice about it. I'm not going to be. No chance. So, I think that's the quarterbacks in order. Mahomes, Allen, Daniels, even though I know the Commanders fans will be like, he's playing with house money, but the pressure's on him, then Jalen. Morgan?
Yeah, I think that I listened to the Sirianni press conference and they asked him this question if Jalen feels more pressure when he's playing against like a young rookie quarterback, and Sirianni said no, he thinks that he's the same all the time. But you know, Jalen is by far under more pressure than Jalen Hurts is by far under more pressure than Jaden Daniels is. Like you said, he's a rookie. Nothing was expected of him. This has been one of the greatest seasons that a rookie quarterback has had ever. So, you know, anything extra is amazing.
I'll push back on that because all the people in the national media are saying the Eagles aren't that team. They're weak. The offense isn't showing up. They're ready to be kicked to. Everybody, no. Let's not act like everybody been singing the Eagles' praises. Everybody been acting like they ain't been the most dominant team in the thing. So I think the pressure is on Jaden Daniels because everybody is basically saying like the only thing good about the Eagles is their defense and the run game. There ain't no pressure on Jalen Hurts. All the pressure's on Jaden Daniels.
All right, well, we disagree on that. So that's an interesting one.
I'm just saying based on you just said the storylines, right? The storyline is, for all intents and purposes, I know they probably did this on PFT too. Like, who do you trust more? I've seen a lot more people who I think should know better who have said that they trust Jaden Daniels more than Jalen Hurts. And of those two quarterbacks, only one of them has had a passing record that still stands to this day in the Super Bowl, but people act like they forgot. So I'm just saying that, there's definitely more pressure on Jayden Daniels because everybody just thinks that the Eagles could just be the Eagles without Jalen. So, I don't think this. Go ahead.
And then, no, I was going to say, if we're looking at the other games, I think there's a lot of pressure on both of them, but there's definitely more pressure on Josh Allen than there is on Mahomes. Mahomes has proven himself. He's been there before. He's done that. And I think that if Mahomes loses, it's not going to be about Mahomes losing. It's going to be about, the defense wasn't as good as last year. He doesn't have as many weapons on offense. The offensive line, that, injuries, Travis Kelce's old, blah, blah, blah. So I think that at least the national media will find every excuse in the book when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. Whereas if the Bills don't lose, it's Josh Allen's fault automatically.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm glad we're in agreement on that. But yeah, it's not that you're right. The pressure should be on Jalen Hurts, but the way that they've, disrespected the Eagles offense, it kind of feels to me like all the pressure's on Jayden Daniels. But moving along to the most vaunted preview, Washington Commanders versus Philadelphia Eagles, NFC Championship preview. We told you it was coming up. I like to pay it off here. I think this is going to be a good game. This will probably be I said it last week, and the Eagles game wound up being the best game of the weekend only because of Mark Andrews' drop. But I think that the Eagles always are a part of the best games of these weekends. So I think this will be a good game. I think this is the game where the Eagles offense finally gets right because the Commanders defense sucks. This is not like last week where the Commanders have the better defense, or their last couple of games where the Commanders had the better defense. They do not have the better defense here. The only thing that you can really give them, you can't really give them anything in this game. Like I'm of the mindset that people throw out these stats like when Jalen doesn't turn the ball over, the Eagles are undefeated. They would have beaten the Commanders a few weeks ago had Landover, Maryland's turf not claimed Jalen's head. Had that Hitman call for what it was late on Louvu and all this other stuff, we wouldn't be here. The Commanders probably would have, gotten done. But they are an up and coming team. I just to say this, I've said it on this show already, or maybe I haven't. But every time the Eagles win 13 or more games, they wind up in the Super Bowl. And I don't see it ending. I think that this will be a slugfest, but I don't think it'll be a slugfest in the general term that everybody is thinking. I think this is going to end up a lot. Like, I think we're all hyping it up now. It's a divisional matchup. This is the first time, I think, since 1969 or whatever, that these two teams are meeting for a playoff game in the rare. It's funny that this is the first time this happened in a long time. But I think the Eagles will beat the Commanders. They have the advantage. I think you should. I'm not a degenerate bettor, but I think you should hammer those Saquon overs. I was close last week. I told y'all he probably have 220 and 2 touchdowns. What do you have? 225. So I was off by 5 yards. Like I told y'all, he was going to have 220 and like 2 touchdowns. So this week I'm saying 250, 2 touchdowns, maybe 1 receiving touchdown. AJ Brown is going to redeem himself. There shouldn't be snow on the ground. So I expect Marshawn Lattimore and AJ Brown to get very acquainted with that touchdown. So I think there's going to be at least 2 touchdowns to AJ Brown. The only thing I'm really worried about as far as on the Eagles perspective is Dallas Goedert's dealing with an ankle. Cam Jurgens is dealing with a back issue, but they said they both should be ready on Sunday. So we'll see if that comes out. But I think the Eagles will win this game pretty handily. I would say, 36-24. I'm gonna say it's gonna be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a shootout. But I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up mirroring what happened to the Vikings when all of us were expecting a slugfest, and then the Eagles said non-called game in the second quarter. So don't be surprised. A lot of these games have been mirroring the Eagles' 2017-18 Super Bowl run. So don't be surprised if this winds up being a blowout either. So
I do not think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a much closer game.
Of course.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Eagles, I know the Eagles have more talent. And so I think that they will win. But you know, I don't know if I have the guts to pick the Commanders. So I'm going to say Eagles 28. What they scored 2 touchdowns, 3 field goals. So what would that be? I'll say 24. So Commanders 24, Eagles 28.
Okay.
Is my
She wants me to rip out what's left of this recent haircut I just had. Okay. I doubt it. I doubt that the game would be that close, but we'll see. With the way Jake Elliott has been missing the extra points, I'm sure it'll be a lot closer than we think. But I am on the mindset that the Eagles should win this game pretty handily. But we'll see. Speaking of, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Houston Texans. Again, I don't think anybody really expected the Texans to win this game outside of Houston. But yeah, the Chiefs beat them down. Like I said earlier, the Chiefs really, like, outside of like those 2 Travis Kelce touchdowns, it didn't really look offensively. It wasn't a good showing for the Chiefs. And it hasn't been that way, as Morgan has pointed out, for like the past few months. I think something is going on there. Something just ain't clicking. Which again, like, you know, the Chiefs and the Lions were twinning as number 1 seeds in the same way. Like, they both weren't clicking offensively and both were ready to be kicked by the right team out of the postseason. So we'll see. It wasn't the Texans. We'll see if it ends up being the Chiefs. But I don't really have nothing to add about this game because, you know, this was the expected result. I just was surprised it wasn't more of a blowout. Morgan?
Yeah, I don't think anybody, you know, expected this game to go much differently. I mean, maybe there are a few more people that would be shocked. I was not shocked. You know, I thought that CJ Stroud played great. That Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs found a way to win once again. They are a sneaky good at that. They love to do that. They love to just you know, I don't know. I think people were worried about them being tired, or no, not tired, rusty, and they were saying that the Texans had to come out hot, and I just don't think there was anything the Texans could have done to win that game. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think that the Texans or the Chiefs are being beaten.
I mean, I was on record last week of saying the only way the Texans will win that game is if a flu outbreak hit the Chiefs right as they were hitting the field.
Yeah.
Or if they gave them free Beyonce tickets. That was the only way they were winning that game, either by sickness or by Beyonce showing up and canceling the game. That was it. That was the only way they were winning that game. But now to this game, Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens in a thriller. And our reaction to this. Morgan, you can start here.
We always knew this was going to be a good game. We know this is going to be the best game of the weekend. And you know, I feel for Ravens fans. It just it seems that they can't catch a break, I guess would be the best way to put it. I don't know. I mean, the turnovers were not good. You can't have a turnover if you're Lamar Jackson, and you know, he needed to have played better. The 2-point conversion at the end, where Mark Andrews dropped the ball. Yes, he should have caught that, of course. But
and then who knows what happens in overtime? Josh Allen could have
but
choked it away.
also it wasn't the best throw by Lamar, right? Like,
I mean, it was in his hands. You know the rule. If it's in your hands.
Yeah, he so I don't know. It just makes me sad for them. Obviously though, I don't really care because I'm a secret Bills fan. Oh, sorry. I am
we're both going through it, as we said.
Yeah. I'm a secret Bills fan and I love them. And, I'm excited for them to move on, but I think Josh Allen played his butt off. I think that the Bills are so freaking motivated and they want it so badly and you can just feel it. And it just didn't, I don't know. It didn't, I don't want to say it didn't. No, I will say it didn't feel like that with the Ravens, in my opinion.
I am of the mindset that this was a great game. I feel like if it wasn't for the early Ravens miscues as far as from Lamar Jackson and a couple of their receivers, the Ravens would have won this game because I think the Bills defense kind of played too aggressively on Lamar. And that 2-point conversion never happens if they actually didn't blitz him. I also think that the Bills defense is the biggest weakness of the Bills.
100%.
I think the Ravens should have won that game. And I'm only saying that because at the end of the day, whatever excuse you want to give Mark Andrews, I didn't talk about this with the Eagles game, but A.J. Brown, same thing happened to A.J. Brown. He had a ball right in his hands. Whether it was behind, whether it's on time, I don't care if there's ice on the field, you're on the ice skating rink, the ball hits your hands, you're supposed to catch that ball. And I just think Mark Andrews, he should have caught that ball because we don't know what happened in overtime. Maybe Josh Allen throws an interception. Maybe there's a fumble. Like maybe the Ravens win that game. So we don't know. But I tend to think that after a play like that would have taken the energy out of Buffalo. I kind of think, sort of like I did with the Lions game, that if the Ravens had cashed in, that they would have won that game. I think the Ravens did enough and had enough talent to overcome their earlier turnover woes, and I think that they would have won that game. But unfortunately, they didn't. The Buffalo Bills did enough. The snow played to their advantage. I don't know. Maybe Mark Andrews should have greased up his thighs, greased up his hands a little bit more, so he would have caught the ball. I make jokes, but I just, as somebody who has seen his playoff teams get done in by catches like that, see catches go through receivers' hands, seeing doink field goals. Like, I'm of the mindset that sometimes in the playoffs, it's better to be lucky than good. In this case, for the Bills, it was better to be lucky than good because their defense gave up an all-timer, right? If the Ravens would have won that game, we would be talking about how Sean McDermott needs to fire himself, fire his defensive coordinator, and somebody else need to be coaching. But it didn't work out for the Ravens this time. I just think the Bills were lucky more than they were good in this case because their defense tried to give this game up to the Ravens. So, and I mean, as far as what's next for the Ravens, I just think you got to get a possession receiver. And I know the Ravens fans that watch the show say, well, that's Zay Flowers and he wasn't there. But I think this is why you need to have another one. I mean, the Eagles got more than one. The Chiefs definitely have more than one. The Commanders just have one, but everybody has more than one. So I think the Ravens need to invest in finding, if it's Zay Flowers, then you need to find somebody else because I like Rashad Bateman, but it definitely ain't Rashad Bateman. You need a possession wide receiver, right? Yeah. I think they need to invest in that. I think they need to invest in getting defenders who can play smart, getting more Kyle Hamiltons and less penalty merchants, you know, people who they just look at and call holding on, like, because that's what was going on. Like, the
No.
rest were literally like, y'all look like you did something, flag, holding, like that. That's just what it was, man. So, what's next for the Ravens is possession.
They need to get some more receivers, but I don't think that they lost, and it wasn't a bad, they lost to a really good Bills team, and we knew it was going to be a shootout. And, I wouldn't stress and worry. Like, you're still a really good team if you're a Ravens fan. Like, you're still a really good team.
Right. But I think for them, it's the heartbreak of it, right? I think they'd rather lose by 10 points than to lose how they saw they lose. Mark Andrews has the ball in his hand. And even though you and I weren't alive for this, for our Red Sox fans in the building, it seems it seemed very reminiscent of a Billy Buckner move. I wasn't alive for that, but how it just went right through the 5-hole for Billy Buckner. I think the Ravens are going to look back, Ravens fans, and be like, this was our Super Bowl. So that's where I'm at with it. But yeah, the Ravens are good. They just need receivers and better defenders. More Kyle Hamiltons,
Yeah.
So, but moving right along to the AFC Championship game, the Bills versus the Chiefs, AFC Championship preview and predictions. I'm gonna let Morgan go first because I think y'all know where she's gonna lean.
I'm gonna pick the Bills. I think that they're hot right now. I think that the Chiefs have a lot of issues. They have issues that are not just as obvious as good in as good as they have been in years past. I love Patrick Mahomes. I love the Chiefs, but I truly think that it's the Bills' year, and I think that Josh Allen is playing out of his mind, and he has brought this team together. I think they know that Joe Brady is gone. I think that there's a lot of things that are weighing on their shoulders, and I think that they want to get this one done for them, for the fans. And I think Josh Allen just wants to pull himself away from Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar, all of those guys, pull himself away and say, no, I am the best quarterback of this crew. I am the first one to get a Super Bowl. I defeated Mahomes. I did it twice this year. I think that that's what's going to happen.
Well, the mindset that this is going to be one in the trenches. Will the Bills' offensive line stand up, or will the Chiefs' defensive line dominate the game? I'm of the mindset that Josh Allen, this is his I'm him game. There's never been a bigger I'm him game than what's going on Sunday night. Will he stand up, or will he fall? And usually this is a part of the show that those of you who watch it enough know. This is where I say, to beat the God quarterback, especially in the playoffs, you need to have balls of steel. You need to have you need to have it all together. I think Josh Allen is that guy that can go pound for pound with Patrick Mahomes, and we've seen him do it. But I haven't seen him do it when it counts in January. And for all my talk about how Patrick Mahomes is the guy QB, I'm gonna shock Morgan here because other than Patrick Mahomes, I have no and Chris. There's just no other reason to give this to the Chiefs. So for that very reason, and this may be a jinx if you're a Bills fan, but Kylan is going with the Bills. I'm shocking the world. I'm going with the Bills.
Yeah, I love
it. I see Morgan rolling eyes now, and it's not for what y'all think, because I would love to see the Chiefs Eagles go at it, because I think if the Chiefs Eagles go at it, it's going to be a different result. Either way, I think the Eagles are going to beat whoever comes from the AFC in the Super Bowl. So I'm of the mindset that whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, but I think it'll be the Bills, and I'm here for the chaos. Bills Mafia versus Eagles Mafia. Can't wait to see it. But I think it'll be Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Kendrick Lamar gets the chaotic fan base Super Bowl that he so desires, right? So And I think it's going to be Eagles versus Bills in the Super Bowl. And I think Meek Mill needs to call Roger Goodell right now and get on that Super Bowl halftime show. But I'm of the mindset that the Bills should win this game. I still think it'll be a shootout, but I think 34-31 Bills. And
Ooh.
yeah, I think I have no other reason, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs, hearing all of us say what we said about how they've been living on a prayer, that they come out with this game. But I think the Bills will win, and then they'll swiftly lose whichever one of these two. I just want y'all, because I don't want nobody to clip this up and say Kylan saying the Bills will be an easier matchup. It doesn't really matter who the Eagles play; they're gonna whip whoever. So it doesn't really matter. But Bills Eagles just for the sheer chaos of it, you know.
Okay.
Um, so that's where I'm at. And even though I just said what I said, just because I threw this question in here, are we headed for an Eagles versus Kansas City Chiefs rematch in the Super Bowl? Will your Bills stand up, Morgan?
I don't think so. I don't think that, and if they are, good. I what's cool about this Super Bowl is that I don't really feel like there's any bad matchups. I feel like you have stories with every single matchup that's coming out of it. So I'm excited. It's not like there's a team that I'm like, God, I really don't want to see in there. They would make it so unexciting. But I don't think that both the Eagles and the Chiefs are going to win. But I could be wrong. Who knows?
Like I said, I think the most exciting, if you're like the league, right? And I know some of y'all think the league, preconcedes these games. Y'all think it's wrestling. As somebody who's in this industry, let me tell you, it'd be hard to win games. But I think you want Bills Eagles because that has the potential to be ratings fuel. But Chiefs Eagles is just as good. It doesn't really matter. It's probably better because Taylor Swift is from Pennsylvania, so people will be like, "Is she going to show up in an Eagles jersey? Is she going to show up in a Chiefs?"
Maybe she'll have those half jerseys.
Yeah, Taylor Swift probably doesn't want this to happen, but because we know where her heart is. She's Bird Gang for life. For those of you that don't know, but she's flying. She's flying with her home state Eagles. But I'm of the mindset that I feel like even though I just said the Bills will win, if the Chiefs would wind up winning, I feel like this was inevitable. This was, as Morgan will remember, this was my pick for the Super Bowl, Eagles Chiefs. So I'm of the mindset that this is going to. If it happens, it happens. I would rather see the Bills just for the sheer excitement of it because Buffalo needs something. But we'll see. They gotta play the game. So
yes, they do.
moving right along though. Ohio State beats Notre Dame to win the national title game. Our reaction to this,
I think
this was expected.
Yeah, it's hard to beat a team with that big of a roster salary and that many 5-star recruits. And I just think that Notre Dame got outplayed. Hey, I think the most impressive part of the game was their ability to cut that lead to the point where they were able to be only one score away from tying it up, and that is impressive in its own light for Notre Dame. I Notre Dame is great, but they're never. I just don't think they're ever going to be the powerhouse that some of these Big Ten SEC schools are. I think you play that game 100 times and Notre Dame maybe wins 10. Ohio State wins the other 90. I it's after that first drive, I looked over at Dan and I was like, wow, maybe we're gonna have a shootout here. And then Ohio State just went bing bang boom, and all of a sudden it was 7-28, and the game didn't look so exciting anymore. We actually went to bed at halftime. We had it on in the bedroom, but I didn't watch most of it. I watched the highlights the next day. Saw the comeback, the comeback of Notre Dame, but not really anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said last week. I think Notre Dame got by the fact that they didn't really have the talent, as you said, of Ohio State. I mean, they did a relatively good job, better than I thought they would on Jeremiah Smith. But when it mattered the most, they blitzed and left him wide open, and he cost them the game. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is him. And when they needed to have it, they got it. Ryan Day has gone from the outhouse to the in-house, won another title. Great for him. Very unfortunate. I think Penn State should have been the team here, but the Big Ten won. Notre Dame was there, so there were a lot of people in sports media that were very happy because they got their Big Ten matchup and they got Notre Dame in there. So it was very interesting, very good. But yeah, at the end of the day, for Marcus Freeman, like it was like I got a bunch of talent on either side of me. He called a heck of a game, better than most people did on Jeremiah Smith, and just got outdone by the fact they played it too aggressively, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Ohio State, this was their game, and they cashed in on it. I don't think there's anything more. Now, I don't think that they will repeat. I think next year there'll be somebody else, but Ohio State was the most talented team, and they showed it. So good for them.
I think a big thing with all this too is that I think and I hope for next year that they will redo the seating so that just because you win, your conference championship doesn't automatically make you a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. I think that they should be doing it how basketball does it, where it's an automatic bid. That means that you automatically get in. That does not automatically mean that you are the top 12 or 15 seeds. That it just means that you have an automatic bid and you're in. But, there are certain teams that shouldn't have had the bye, and teams that ended up having easier paths than others. And Ohio State was not one of those teams. Ohio State had a pretty nasty battle all the way through, and I think it's a very, very well-deserved championship for them. So, I'm going to give Kylan his 5 minutes to talk all things NBA, 5-10 minutes to talk all things NBA. I will mute myself, and then we will come back and we will finish it up with some college basketball.
She's gonna tell you why you should feel sorry for the UConn Huskies. Man. Yeah, so Philadelphia 76ers on the 7-game losing streak. Very unfortunate after having a really good end of December, early January. Injuries have caught up with them. And they just have not been able to win since Joel Embiid stopped playing. So I feel like this will turn around this weekend because they play Cleveland tomorrow, and then on Saturday they play the Chicago Bulls. So I think they will get one of those games. Cleveland's a little bit more injury prone, injury riddled than they were the last time they played the Sixers. So we'll see. They might be able to get that game tomorrow. But I think they're more than likely to end this losing streak on Saturday. Have everybody feeling better about their birds on Sunday when they see a Sixers victory. And then as far as the trade deadline, which I know a lot of y'all are more interested in than anything else, I think the Sixers, they really have no chance of out-tanking the Pelicans and Morgan's hometown Wizards. So I think that they should continue to make the team better, even if it's at the margins. So I think at the trade deadline, they need to go get a point guard, get a backup point guard who could actually do something. Obviously, since Jared McCain went down, the backup point guard has been a little bit more of an issue than it was before he went down with his meniscus tear. So they need to get a backup point guard. Probably need to get either a backup, somebody who can play backup power forward position or a backup center role because, this was a bad nightmare for the Sixers because you had Joel Embiid, he's down. Then you have Andre Drummond, he's also down. So you need another center now just in case. So it's kind of been like a nightmare early season. But like I said before, there's a lot of people are saying tank. But again, the pick is not in the top 6, which let me just tell y'all, because of the lottery. It won't be. They won't be able to out tank Morgan's Wizards and the Pelicans. So they will probably end up with the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th or lower pick. So it's going to OKC anyway. And for those of you that are wondering, no, they cannot trade around that pick. The NBA is very much loophole averse when it comes to trades. That's why whenever the trade deadline happens, they make it very clear that once a trade goes through, you cannot loophole your way out of it. So once this trade was made a couple of years ago, that sent Al Horford and Danny Green to the Thunder, this pick is coming because it's compensation for OKC taking those salary filler contracts. And so now OKC is really good. Obviously, the Sixers didn't think that they would be having early season this bad. So obviously the Sixers had already given up that pick anyway. And so there's a lot of Sixers fans who are being more emotional than logical, that are praying for a tank. So, but in this case, the deadline move should be, they shouldn't be sellers. They should be buyers. I don't care what the record says. When Joel Embiid comes back, either before or after the All-Star break, the Sixers will be in the top 8, top 10 position. They'll be probably, if they get to the 6th seed by then, they'll be able to avoid the play-in, but they're good enough to win at least 48 to 50 games, get enough games to avoid the play-in tournament, be in the playoffs. Everybody looks at this for what it was, realizes, I know it's so hard for sports fandom, but realize they were being stupid when they said, oh, we need to tank. No, the Sixers don't need to tank. Like I said, they're not going to out-tank these teams that are already tanking. But yeah, so backup point guard, backup center, backup power forward, that's what they need as the trade deadline approaches. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the best player in the NBA right now? I love when this works out and then he drops 50 points last night. Yes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is currently the best player in the NBA. And I know there's a bunch of people in Denver and in Europe that are very angry with me right now. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is dropping 50-plus points. He leads the league in assists. He's a defensive nightmare as well. He's on one of the best teams in the NBA. He's the MVP currently. And he's the best player in the NBA right now. Jokic and them are coming. The team is rising up the standings, but it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's just the best player right now. He deserved the MVP last year, and I think he'll get it this year. I think y'all should bet on him. Because, he's doing all this without Chet Holmgren, and so his numbers are only going to increase once Chet Holmgren comes back. To the other half of this, Jimmy Butler, because we haven't talked about him. He got suspended 2 games. Morgan, 2 game suspension. I mean, we have been leaving him alone because for a while I wanted to say he's not him, because I don't understand how you can make all this money, go from Philadelphia to Miami, and then get on live television and say, I'm not happy. I'm like, bruh, you're not happy in Miami? Bruh, you're an athlete making $50+ million in Miami. And you're talking about you're not happy? Bruh, you don't even get to see snow days. Like, you don't get to see ice like I do every day, like Morgan does every day. You're talking about you're not happy? And then you find some way to get suspended 2 games because you missed the flight. How do you miss the flight? Now, I have never been on a team chartered plane. I'll let Morgan explain it to me, but I'm pretty sure it's hard to miss a flight, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that they wait for you.
Chartered flight, so I couldn't tell you. And there's not very many players on a basketball team. And you're Jimmy Butler, so I'm assuming that they're like, is Jimmy here?
Right, right. Me too. I'm assuming that they made every. You're the superstar of that team, so I'm sure they bent over backwards to make sure they delayed the plane. And you still find some way to miss it. Like, come on, bruh. But yeah, like, this is the MVP of how to get traded, even though he's not traded yet. He's trying, though. I'll give it to him. Will he be traded, and what has this done for his legacy? I'll let Morgan chime in here, but I just think you got 2 stubborn personalities here. You got Pat, I don't trade anybody, Riley. I didn't trade Dwayne Wade. I'm definitely not trading you. And he actually got me rings. So I just think Jimmy Butler is meeting with an immovable object that won't move. Like, Pat Riley will die before he lets Jimmy Butler go to where he wants to go if it's not in free agency. So I really don't, when this all happened 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about it, I think I said he was going to be traded, but knowing Pat Riley the way that I do, having not met him at all, but knowing him, I don't think he's going to trade him, bro. I think that he's going to just let him continue to stew and keep doing damage to his legacy, because I've always said this, even when he was a Sixer, I said that Jimmy Butler is like the most damaged good superstar that you have, because basically since he forced his way out of Minnesota, he has to prove that he's worth all of that hassle. Like, he's essentially a diva NFL receiver with no rings. That's what he is. And so he has to justify that. And he's in his mid to late 30s and doesn't work. He's not that guy. He's more of a third option now than a main option. Like, I just don't know. Like, on Phoenix, maybe on the Clippers, maybe on the Sixers, but I just think he's a role player now. He's in his late 30s, and Jimmy, it's time to give it up, man. Like, this is your last bag year. I think after that, you start doing this. So, I don't know if that ring's coming anytime soon, but I definitely think he's done massive damage to his legacy as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if he's going to get traded until the summer. I mean, he's going to leave in free agency by then. Morgan, you got anything to add?
I always think that, like, what has it done for his legacy? I think that that's always such an interesting question, because you hear about this all the time with superstars of all different kinds of sports. When they leave these teams they've been with for a while, or they go out on bad terms, they are, they'll go somewhere else, and they're older and they're not going to be as good as they were once before. And you're having new people watch you all the time, blah, 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 blah. And I just think that yes, it can hurt your legacy, because you get there in a way that with turmoil, and then you get there and you're not going to be as good as you once were. Whereas the fans that you won championships for and played your heart out for are always going to remember those moments for you. Jimmy Butler is an amazing basketball player. Of course he is. But it never helps to be, I have so many words I want to use. I'll say not nice or ungrateful of a situation when you're in one.
I totally agree. And now I will pass the ball to our UConn basketball reporter. She's going to tell you why you should feel sorry for the UConn Huskies. I mean, I'm joking here, but she's definitely going to throw that in there somehow.
Yeah, I think that first of all, if you've been watching the Huskies, you know that Leah McNeely has been out, who is by far the best shooter on the team. And, it's always challenging when your best player is not in the game. Now, something that is beneficial and something that is positive for UConn fans, that they've, even in the 2 games that they've lost, they have managed to stay in it. It's not like they get blown out. They're not losing by 15, 20 points. They're staying with it, and they're fighting. And, I think that in years past, they haven't had to have any fight, and they have just been blowing teams out. Well, this team is different. This team is not going to win by 30, 40 points. This team is going to go to OT and win by 2, and you're going to be clutching your breath and holding your pearls the whole time. And, in some ways that makes it a little bit more exciting. Every game is a little bit exciting. In some ways, obviously, that makes you want to pull your hair out. But I still have faith in this team. I think that they need to shake all this rust off, obviously, before the Big East tournament, before March Madness. They lost 3 players to the NBA. Like 3 good players, 2 of whom are starting and doing very, very, very well in their starting roles on their teams, and 1 that is absolutely destroying the G League and scoring 50 points a game in the G League. So, it's hard to say that, in the past 3 years, they've lost 6 of their starters. In the past 2 years, they've lost 6 of their starters to the NBA, which is crazy. And I apologize. They lost 4 players to the NBA last year, not 3. So, I think that they're doing as well as they can. This team is not nearly as good in defense as UConn teams in the past 2 years have been. I think that's their biggest weakness. Hey, positive. In the last game, they had no turnovers. The game before that, they had like 12. So, it's always positive. It's always looking up. Dan Hurley's always looking for new ways to win. So, and the Big East is nasty. The Big East is a hard fighting conference. So, I have faith. They're going to be fine. We'll see how they play against Xavier on Saturday.
No, what about the women? How are the women doing?
Women are doing great. Women are 4. They just came out. They're ranked 4. They look great. They have all their stars back. Paige is playing great. That was very scary when she came down on her knee. And Paige, as always, on Paige's humor was like, "You're gonna call a foul on that or what?" With her sense of humor. They have some great underclassmen. Chen has been unbelievable. Ashley has been out of this world, but having everybody back is great. And I mean, I don't think you can talk enough about Sarah Strong and how she's contributing to this team. And she, only being a freshman, she is going to be an absolute superstar. I wouldn't be surprised if she was the number 1 pick in the draft in 3 years. She's a monster. She's amazing out there. So it's exciting. Huh? No,
I was just going
UConn, the Big East women's teams aren't as solidly well-rounded as the men are. So once they get into conference play, they tend to dominate pretty well. I don't know what the record is in the last, but I want to say that they haven't lost a Big East championship regular season and tournament in some time, and maybe since they came back from the AAC. So they are on their way probably to another top seed in the NCAA tournament, and maybe this is their year.
Okay. All right, then. We're moving right along, and we have not forgotten y'all hockey fans. I'm guessing next week.
We're getting back, but hey, if we want to quickly talk hockey, we can quickly talk the Caps, because that's what I've been following. Ovechkin is 20 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record. Some say it can't happen this year. I have faith that it still can. The Caps were this team that has come out of absolutely nowhere. No one expected anything of them, and they have soared to great heights. So it's been a fun season so far. And I'm hoping that they continue. Once college football is over, so we have one sport done. NFL has a few more weeks. Once NFL is over, we can start diving into hockey before baby comes. So,
our baseball fans out, because this was the biggest baseball news in a while. Ichiro Suzuki and CC Sabathia lead 2025 Baseball Hall of Fame induction classes. Morgan and I know we're old because we're seeing players that we watched as kids getting selected as Hall of Famers now.
On there, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "He's already in the Hall of Fame? How is it possible?"
Right, and Ichiro. So,
Ichiro not being unanimous is,
oh my God,
like, baseball thing ever. It
truly is.
Baseball writers, I think it's time to pass the torch from some of the people that are still voting on that stuff. But
is that your day, Art? Man, look, man. As sports people, we try not to be, but they're. Most people think it's the golf reporters and the golf writers that are the most pretentious. And this is no offense. I know a bunch of baseball reporters. I'm not talking about y'all, but the Hall of Fame voters of baseball reporters give baseball reporters such a bad name because they're so stuck up. How is Ichiro not unanimous? Like. It's like Ken Griffey Jr. not being unanimous last year.
Sabathia not unanimous. Like you wanted to go there. Like baseball Hall of Fame, they let like 3 people in a year. It's not like it's a dumb thing that they've decided that they can't let anybody else be unanimous. And it's seemingly like there's this one guy who just refuses. I guess he just hates everybody. So I don't know. I'm happy for Ichiro and Cece, both very, very, very well deserved. Some of
Right,
the
Billy
videos that
West.
came out of it were amazing. It's always awesome to see people get to just have those moments because they're so special and they're well deserved, and um, it's exciting for them. So I think, I think you probably feel similar to how I do, that seeing people that deserve to be in Hall of Fames getting into Hall of Fames is always a great moment.
Yep. Yep. And even though baseball Hall of Fame voters always want to be that one person, they aren't them. But good for Ichiro, good for CC. Good for Billy Wagner. It's a shame that there's not more people getting in
Yeah.
because of the dumb percentage rules. But good for the people that got in. I mean, so moving right along to our shout out segment. So I'm going to shout out somebody who is always famous. I know y'all probably upset that I haven't been talking about her, but when Kim Mulcahy does bad things, I call her out. But I have to shout her out because I saw she's been giving out baby gifts to coaches who have been expecting. So I have to shout her out for that. I'm sure there's a Bible in there somewhere, knowing how stereotypical she is. But
cross necklace that you have to
yeah,
put baby.
right. But I got to give credit where it's due. She has been on her best behavior. I have not had to say, I haven't had to use the she's not her because she's my most popular she's not her. So I have to give it to her. She is her. And shout out to Kim Mulkey for actually being a good person for once. So good for her. Great time. I don't know what changed this summer, but something changed, and shouts out to her. Shouts out to my church for the retreat, great leadership retreat over the weekend in Cambridge, Maryland. Morgan's home area. Very well done, even though it was January. Very well done.
Maryland, I thought you were saying you were up in Cambridge in Massachusetts, which is why I said I was there this weekend. You probably were like, you're going to be in Cambridge.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Cambridge, Maryland. Yeah, Cambridge, Maryland. But yeah, great area. And great time. So yeah. But yeah, those are my two shout outs. So just so all the LSU and all the Baylor fans, I can give Kim Mulkey her due when she deserves it. So there you go. Morgan?
Yeah, I am going to give a shout out to everybody that works at NBC on NFL. It was a great season. Nice to put a cap on it with a great game down in Philly last weekend. We still have, obviously, the grind never stops when it comes to football. So we'll be doing more stuff with that, but big shout out to everybody. It's always a big relief, weight off our shoulders once the season ends and ends on a positive note. Then one more shout out. So I won't be on the pod next week because I'm going to Florida for nationals with my dance team.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got the goal. Let's go.
Yeah, we are going. We will be we leave on Wednesday, or we leave Thursday morning, but we have practices all week. The girls are super excited. So it's very exciting, and I'm super happy for them. We've been, working really, really, really hard. So they're pumped. So we'll be in Florida from Thursday to Monday. So I'm like, oh, I'll be in Florida next weekend, and people are like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Are you going on like a baby moon? Or I'm like, no, I'm taking 12 high school girls to a dance competition. So just as fun. But when we get back, it'll be full-blown baby mode. So kind of crazy that we are getting this close to all the exciting things happening. But just shout out to them. And I will make sure to let Kylan know how we do. So we can talk about it in 2 weeks when I'm back on. But yeah, so moving in to our favorite segment. He's not him. She's not. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You set that as a goal, right? You set it. I mean, you set it as a personal goal, but you set it on this show. We're going to get to nationals. hopefully in 2025, and it happened. I mean, shouts out to Morgan and all the coaches at, what is this, Stafford High School or whatever. What's your high school?
Yeah, Stratford High School. So
Stratford High School. Like, I mean, we got to give her, because she set that as a goal. And we hold people accountable on this show. It's only the two of us, but we would have somebody run the tape back. But she set that as a goal a few months ago, and it happened. Like,
so
before we get to the segment, like, I always got to give people shouts out when it happens. So good for you, Morgan. You set it as a goal, not just privately, but publicly on this show for me to hold you accountable.
Gotta say
if you didn't make it playfully. But yes, to what she just teased, he's not him, she's not her, they are them. Do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
All right. Well, hopefully I'm not taking yours. My they are them. Unfortunately, we have a new administration now, and we had news come out yesterday that meteorologist, I think in Wisconsin, I don't know if this was Morgan's or not, but I think her name was Sam Kuffel. It might have been Kerfuffle. It sounded real German, but I think it was Sam Kuffel, I believe. She's a young reporter. I know Morgan's Googling it as we speak, so she'll correct me on the pronunciation, but I believe it's Kuffel.
Pronounce this.
But yeah, so she's a meteorologist in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin somewhere, CBS 58. And she saw what happened. Now, I did not watch the inauguration on Monday. But the current owner of X, and the current owner and CEO of Tesla, did the Heil Hitler, did the Nazi salute, even though some of y'all are trying to call it what it is, and she correctly called it what it is. He did it twice, apparently telling the truth and saying on your private Twitter, that I'm not, I obviously didn't see what she said, but I'm sure she said something along the lines of, I don't agree with that. And in this country, we hate Nazis. I'm sure she said something along those lines. But she wound up losing her job because of that. And I retweeted it yesterday that this industry is in a bad place. If you can lose your job for privately calling a Nazi.
I have it. It says, you blurred, you effed with this and this man. I don't F with you. Full stop is what she posted.
See?
Dude, she said, Nazis saluted twice during the inauguration. You effed,
yeah. So I mean, personal Twitter, obviously, as media people, the argument is we represent the brand no matter where we are. But like, to lose your job over that kind of makes me think that organization, I believe it's Weigel Broadcasting, was being very sensitive and bending over backwards for somebody who wouldn't care about a local news station. I also think that it turns out that for my church folks that watch the show, for a clean version of what I really want to say, there's a lot of Elon jock riders who really got on, who really, I think, harassed her off of social media and brought this to the station's attention. And I don't want to give no more Elon jock riders more attention than they deserve, but they harassed this girl, and somehow she lost her job because I guess the station thought it was too much negative attention. But I'm here to tell y'all, just like what the Orioles did for something that was less stupid, for their who was it? I think it was their play-by-play guy called them out for some stupid scheduling that they did, and then they wound up firing him for something, then rehiring him. I just want to tell you, people who make these decisions, a lot of times when you make these decisions, you make the situation way worse than it should be. Like, maybe she shouldn't have cursed so much, but like, the Nazi salute is the Nazi salute. Like, I think most people, unless they're Elon jock riders, would agree that no one wants to see that behind the presidential seal, right? No one wants to see it at any time, but definitely not behind the presidential seal, right? So, we already got jokes that he's the shadow president anyway, right? And now the shadow president is doing a Nazi salute twice. So my day are them to Weigel Broadcasting for firing this young woman who, by all intents and purposes, as the journalism circle is very small, but seems like she's a great meteorologist, somebody who's going places in this industry. But the industry is in a bad place where you could be a non-political journalist and get fired for a political opinion, which shouldn't really be that. it's not a controversial public opinion to just basically say I don't frequent Nazis. I think most people don't frequent Nazis in this country. I mean, but that's just me. So that's my day art them, and I don't think I have anything else. I'm gonna let Morgan take this before I say something else.
So my he's not him is Mark Andrews. I don't know if you've seen this, but he has yet to speak to the media since the drop pass and all that stuff. And
I think he put something on his Instagram, but yeah, he spoke this.
And, I am all about, like, I totally understand that, like, that can be a horrible situation. And I'm even okay if, like, night of, he's like, I can't say anything, but we're almost a week later and he still hasn't answered any questions about it. And at a certain point, you're making millions of dollars to play this game and you messed up, and that's okay. But the media also has a job to do. So the media and there are rules there. That's why there are rules in place saying you have to speak to the media, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I'm okay. Night of, he's like, I can't. Let's focus. And like on our side, let's focus on the winning team. The next day, a few days later, you've been able to cool off. I think that you owe it to your fans and to the media to say something, to have do an interview or do a press conference or do something. You declined it night of, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that you just don't have to do it at all. And my they aren't them is I feel like this is just appropriate. It's going to be the refs, the NFL refs. I just want them to ref the games the same for every team and every player. There were many times during this weekend where I felt like the refs were favoring one team, not favoring in like they want them to win, in like if that same play had been on the other side, it wouldn't have been called. Just some blatant made up calls. And maybe that's on the NFL to be able to review some of these calls. And I know the game is already long, but a face mask penalty when there's no face mask is tough, because that's such an easy penalty to see or not see. So, that's my they aren't them.
I'm in agreement then. All right. So final thoughts and goodbye. We have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Good luck to Morgan and the Stratford High School dance crew. I don't know if it's all girls, all boys. I think you said all girls, right?
All girls.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on social media at M_India_Miller, at Kyla W. Watson. Again, forgot to take Trey off from last week, so go follow Trey on Instagram at Mr. Taylor 3. He's currently working on the short film, so definitely follow him.
Yes.
He'll be back on this show probably next week in Morgan's stead. But yeah, good luck to Morgan. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy basketball. Super Bowl. Yep. Go Eagles. Go Bills.
I can't say go Eagles, but
I know. Fly Eagles, fly. But yeah, y'all have a good one. We'll see you soon. Safe travels, Morgan. What's up, Dan? And there's the balloons. We gotta go. Peace out, y'all.
Bye.